buzzards fly at night?
Buzzards only come when something's dead.
Vandal Decker to Cable 1, what's happening?
We see bodies. Lots of them.
These people were cut down in mid-stride.
Everybody's dead! You did!
People love to talk about movies.
I recommend calling a wildfire alert. All members of your team have been cleared and are now being called in.
If things get out of control, even you can't work miracles.
Grandpa, there's a car and they got guns.
What's going on?
This communication is being monitored.
Never believed this could really happen. You knew, Stone. You knew it!
Good movies, bad movies.
I didn't think it possible.
I wish I could believe you.
Whether you do or not, the only important thing now is to find the antidote.
Even with a microscope, they're blind.
I'm turning off the oxygen.
Experiment with your own life, damn it! I'm scared.
Even people who never watch movies like to talk about movies, and that's what we're going to do here today. I am here with Greg Procaccino, who is a director, an actor, and a professor at Thomas More University.
That's correct.
Welcome, Greg. Good to see you.
Good to be here.
And today we're talking about movies that cover plagues and pandemics. It's a subject there's been a lot of talk about lately.
Should I take this off now?
Yeah.
We're safe. We're safe.
Yeah. Greg, why don't you start us off with some of the earlier movies?
Well, the pandemics and disease were covered in a lot of films, even back in the 30s and 40s. Scarlet Fever, like the Betty Davis film Jezebel, had been around for a while. But the very first one that I can remember that dealt with the plague in a real-life situation was Panic in the Streets in 1950, directed by Elia Kazan with Richard Widmark, Barbara Bel Geddes, and Jack Palance or Palance?
Palance.
Palance. And basically what happens is it takes place in New Orleans. And Kazan shot this totally in New Orleans. And there's a poker game going on one night, and a foreigner from off a boat wins a pot, gets a little sick, leaves, doesn't feel good. Palance and his group chase him for their money. They shoot him and kill him, and he ends up in the morgue, and they find out that he's got the plague. He's got bubonic plague. And Richard Widmark's called in to make sure it happens that way, to make sure that's clearly what it is. He does, and the rest of the film is how they find out who else has contact with this guy and to shut this down. Interestingly, it's a human interest story. The plague becomes secondary. Widmark's the nice guy. He's military. He's military, which becomes very prevalent in a lot of plague movies. He works for the Board of Health. Paul Douglas is the grumpy cop, and Jack Palance is the hood called Blackie.
Scary
guy.
One
of his first films.
Yeah.
He's tall and lean and crazy in one moment, sweet the next, and it becomes a story of how these people live with each other in New Orleans. The plague becomes secondary. If you've ever seen it, I mean, they have to go find out what's happening. But the film takes time to talk about how people are feeling with each other and how life is. It's directed by Elia Kazan, the man who brought you Death of a Salesman, Streetcar Named Desire, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. That was his genre, human stories.
Sure.
Not about a plague that's ravaging Europe. They eventually do handle it, but at one point, this reporter gets wind of it. He's gonna do the thing, and the cops just arrest him.
Yeah.
Try that today.
Yeah.
I said, boy, this is shot in 1950,
Yeah.
But it is so real and gritty, and they use every location they can in New Orleans.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it just to watch Jack Palance.
Yeah.
To see what the 1950s New Orleans looked like, and to look how sensibilities have changed.
Yeah.
But it does establish this process, I think, where all pandemic movies afterwards will be about the people trying to discover it, cure it, find it, and their lives, not about what it does to normal people.
Well, and one of the things it does that really rings a bell now is how people are avoiding giving any information, answering questions. People don't want to help track down where it started because they think it's going to get them in trouble.
Exactly.
Everybody mistrusts the government and the police and everybody that's coming to try and get information. So that seems weirdly timely right now.
Very. And in this movie, when the cops do reach out to people in the film, like today, He shut down. Of course, it's the underworld he's dealing with.
Right.
But they
These
all
are very vulnerable people.
don't say, don't talk. Snitches get stitches.
Right.
And it ends up biting them in the tuchus.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, you're right. It's a kind of a classic.
Oh, wonderful. Again, Jack Palance. Just watch it for him.
Yeah.
At one moment, he's this monster, and then he's out helping a tiny person with his health and his money and his.
Yeah.
He's giving people money. I'll take care of you. I love you.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he beats people up. I said, what?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it is. That's worth watching.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up the Andromeda Strain from
Michael
1971.
Crichton. Yeah.
Yes, based on a hugely successful novel by Michael Crichton, and it's completely procedural.
Yeah.
It's very slow by modern standards, and it's completely obsessed with the mechanism that they set up to try and understand a living virus, something like a virus, that has been returned to Earth from outer space.
Right.
So they have to invent a whole system for keeping the scientists safe and for keeping this thing isolated from the world. And they have all of these computers and things that now look hilariously out of date. They were way ahead of the time. You know, and how people have to go through these showers and they have to wear different colored uniforms on different levels, and it's.
Did it draw you in?
I
watched
actually,
it. It was like, ugh.
it's slow. I was interested in the way that they approached the science.
Right.
So it kind of kept me in the story. It has some interesting characters, as you know. But yeah, it's not a thriller really until the very end.
Hour and 50 minutes in.
Very end. There's a scary, suspenseful moment. But
Yes.
that's about it.
I will say the actors they got were wonderful, and the guy who
Yes.
directed it, Robert Wise,
Robert
knows how
Wise.
to make a movie.
Yeah.
The man
Yeah.
knows how to make a movie, so it looks great.
Yeah, visually, and as you say, the casting is tremendous.
Kate Reed as the female as a scientist is a hoot.
She's great. She's very good. She really carries it.
That same year, I remember seeing this movie at the RKO Albee, but I was an embryo when I went and saw it. I'm not dating myself, but I remember seeing The Omega Man, 1971.
Yes. Yep.
Based on the Robert Matheson book. It was the second version. The first one had been made with Vincent Price.
Uh-huh.
It was an Italian-made movie. It wasn't so good. The Omega Man, 1971, about a virus that escapes when China and Russia are in a biological warfare. Mm-hmm. And again, see, they did it, not us.
Right.
That's what I love. They did it, not us.
Yeah, it's not our fault.
Not our fault. And Charlton Heston plays a military guy who's a doctor. Again, Richard Widmark was a military guy. He's a military guy who is not prone to the disease. And what has happened is it has wiped everybody out.
Yeah.
And he lives semi-alone in Los Angeles in a little apartment up above that he's made a fortress because the people who have survived are called the family. Mm. And they are affected by this disease, and it's famous for that shot where he drives through Los Angeles alone, and the place is completely empty. It's about struggle, and mentally capable of surviving something like this. Interesting. He has a relationship with Rosalind Cash, which was very controversial back then. She was an African American actress,
Right.
but it looks like it's 1971, and Anthony Zerbe plays the head of the family, and they meet with people, and he's trying to find the formula. It's action-packed. It's a little more intellectual than the sequel I'll talk about, not the sequel, the third remake, in the sense that he talks to the bad people, they come after him, he tries to find a way to communicate with them and help them. It doesn't work.
No.
He ends up dying in it, but his blood, which has the antibodies, is sent out to a hippie commune by these people who do survive. That's the second version. The third version, which is the one people really love, is I Am Legend, which is the exact title of the novel, the book, with Will Smith. Totally different look. Omega Man's 1971. I Am Legend is what, 2008, 2007?
Yeah.
Will Smith is wonderful. A cancer drug has gone bad. He's the only one left. He lives in his little compound. He's trying to find a way to fix it. But the family is now these crazed vampire zombies who are vicious and move fast and who haunt him at night. As with Heston, the family comes out and haunts him at night. These guys are vicious, mean.
Yeah.
They're just out for blood. Totally representative of a new time in filmmaking in America. It's not a slow film. We're talking about Andromeda Strain. I Am Legend is fast, furious. The monsters are evil.
Yeah.
When he does things to them, you got to understand why he does it, because like they're not, at least with the Charlton Heston version, they try to talk and they try to fight the disease. They're just, I Am Legend, they're just vicious.
Yeah.
And it's the tech on it is wonderful. I mean, it moves to New York City.
Yeah, it looks great.
It looks
it's a great
beautiful.
Movie,
It looks like it's 2008, 2009, and he gives a really good performance. Where a man trying to keep his sanity amidst this struggle. I think that's what it is. Can you survive? Have we survived COVID? Can you survive this mess?
Yes.
Alone, or do you need somebody else? In the Omega Man version, Heston needs somebody else because he's starting to lose his mind. And a woman gets introduced. And I Am Legend, a young girl and a little boy get introduced. Do we need people to survive this stuff? Is I think a question that's asked, that the pandemic movies ask. What do you think? I think yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's it actually has like you say, it has some intellectual heft to it.
Yes.
It's not just sheer sensationalism.
Right.
So yeah, it's an interesting movie and very popular.
Very popular. There's talk of a sequel. I don't know how, because at the end, spoiler alert, he dies. As does Charlton Heston. He dies because people die when they get the plague. So I just want to make sure that people understand that. But young people, when they this is a general statement, they love that film. When I showed them Omega Man, they feel the slowness of Omega Man.
Yes, yeah. It's very hard for modern audiences to get used to that pace.
That pace.
Yeah.
And I think it makes I Am Legend that much more exciting.
Yeah.
But the difference is vicious versus trying to communicate with each other, and that's a sign of the times, I think.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, it is. All right. Well, thank you very much. We will be back after this.
Just listen to me. I said listen to me.
I think everyone's dead.
You're just killing scared people. It's what you always do. You're killing scared people. You are like dogs. You smell fear and you pounce. Well, what the fuck happened today, folks? Someone took a buzzsaw to your middle and they pulled out a wheeling devil and they spilled it right across your anthill. But you know what, friends? We were never making sense. We were never making sense.
Welcome back.
And
we are talking about movies today, talking about movies about plagues and pandemics. One of the most interesting movies on this topic, I think, is 12 Monkeys, which was directed by Terry Gilliam of Monty Python fame. And as you know, he's a very quirky, one-of-a-kind director. And this is a perfect movie for him because it's not only about this mysterious outbreak, it also involves time travel and guilt. And Bruce Willis plays a prisoner who gets literally sent back in time. That's right. He's going to get out of prison if he goes back in time and prevents this outbreak from happening. It's just full of insane imagery, animals on the loose, right. And everybody is crazy or thinks everybody else is crazy, including Bruce Willis, who comes, when he time travels, he gets locked up because everybody thinks what he's talking about is nuts. While he's locked up, he meets a scientist played by Brad Pitt.
Yes.
Everybody thinks he's nuts because of the things he's saying. Madeline Stowe is very good. She comes in and kind of helps work it out. It's a very twisty, complex story that kind of folds in on itself and folds out, and it's unpredictable.
Yes.
It's visually really striking.
And that's that case of somebody taking a genre and doing what they want with it and
Right.
changing the rules. And nobody can do it like Terry Gilliam.
That's right.
And just as an aside, you either love him or hate him, but Brad Pitt gives a really good performance. They all went, we thought he was just pretty.
Right.
And he's really good.
Semmelweis comes along. He's trying to convince people, well, other doctors mainly, that there are these teeny tiny invisible bad things called germs that get into your body and make you sick. Huh? He's trying to get doctors to wash their hands. What is this guy? Crazy? Huh? Teeny tiny invisible, what do you call them? Germs? Huh? What? Now, cut to the 20th century. Huh? Last week, as a matter of fact, right before I got dragged into this hellhole. I go in, to order a burger in this fast food joint. The guy, he drops it on the floor. Jim, he picks it up, he wipes it off, he hands it to me like it was all okay. What about the germs, I say? He says, I don't believe in germs. Germs are just a plot they made up so they can sell you disinfectants and soaps. Now, he's crazy, right? See? There's no right, there's no wrong, there's only popular opinion. You believe in germs, right?
I'm not crazy.
Of course not. Of course not. You want to escape, right? That's very sane. That's very sane. I can help you. You want me to, don't you? Get you out.
You know how to get out of here?
Yes, my son.
He's very good, and he was going through a period right then where he was picking roles where he wasn't so pretty.
Yeah.
Like Seven and Spy Game, and in Spy Game he spent 80% of the movie with his face all beaten to hell.
That's right.
So I think he was deliberately trying to get away from, make people stop noticing how gorgeous he was. So.
I know what that's like.
He's. But yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
honestly.
and I don't know if it's at the same time, but an opposite of that is the old genre again where the military is involved. It's the film Outbreak.
Yes.
Which came out right around the Hot Zone. People remember the Hot Zone was a nonfiction book about Ebola breaking out over in Africa. Mm-hmm. This film came out a little bit after that. Again, it's got the process of, you're in Zaire in 1967. They firebomb this entire village and take out this disease. It's brutal. Mm-hmm. It comes back because of a monkey that comes to America, and it starts spreading around this little town on the West Coast. There's a funny scene that people still talk about. Somebody catches it, goes to a movie theater, and coughs. A crowded movie theater, and you see it just go through all the movie, and everybody gets sick. Mm-hmm. Dustin Hoffman stars in it with Rene Russo, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Spacey, Cuba Gooding Jr. And here again, the military gets brought in to fix it, and you think it's going to get slow, but because there's a clock on this, we've got to fix this. Things are happening fast. People are dying. There are people being shoved back into their home. It's very violent where they just like surround this town and don't let people out.
Right.
They take away their freedoms.
Yeah.
Their rights, and energy, and you believe it, and you're watching people try to work in the process, and they don't work too hard on trying to go with interpersonal relationships. Hoffman's divorced from Rene Russo, but there's a love story there. But it really is about fixing this, and who's at fault, and there are surprises. Mm-hmm. And Donald Sutherland plays a wonderful villain in this.
Yes.
The military, buzzkill, not buzzkill, but what do you call it? You don't want to ruin the ending for you.
Yeah.
But the military is involved with the reason it occurred and the way they can fix it. Mm-hmm. But it's 1997, and it's a pandemic film that's got a lot of energy, a lot of movement, a lot of action. Yeah. Things happen quickly, energetically, and they go, it's a sign of the times. It's not like Andromeda Strain.
No. It's much more suspenseful.
Much more suspenseful.
Yeah.
The helicopter chase in the end is a little, but I love Who Saves the Day. Yeah. Morgan Freeman. Yeah. Morgan Freeman, who's a military guy, causes the thing to work. So I really like that about the film.
There's a reason that he always plays, God and the president, and he was built to just save the day.
Save the world.
That's Morgan Freeman for you.
Yeah.
Another movie that came out when was it? 2002, I think, called 28 Days Later.
Oh, man.
So suspenseful, so fast moving.
God, speed.
Again, it's a virus that comes out of a laboratory where there's animal testing going on. And the apes in this lab are infected with something that makes them violently rageful. They're angry and they want to fight and kill. And some animal activists come in to release the animals. And so the virus goes into the human population, and it spreads like wildfire. And in minutes of being exposed to blood, people turn into these raging berserkers, running around killing one another. And it's just screaming hysterical fear from beginning to end.
It's not about the process. It's the after effect.
It's the after effect. And nobody's looking for a cure for this. Everybody's just trying to stay alive.
Stay alive.
And very few of them do.
Right.
It gets, the ending, it weirdly slows down at the ending.
Yes, it does.
It's the one place where people aren't running hilariously, and yet it's incredibly frightening when some people who have been on the run end up under what they think is the protection of a military outfit. I won't say any more about it because it's I don't want to spoil anything.
Boyle directed that?
This was directed by Danny Boyle, who has got range like nobody else in the world. Same man who directed Slumdog Millionaire.
Right.
And Trainspotting. And, he can just do anything. The guy's amazing.
Yeah, and I love the fact that they play with the formula.
Yep.
It's indicative of the time. It's not going to be slow. It's like they're crazy. I love that.
Yeah. Another movie that came out the same year that has sort of that same energy. Yeah. Cabin Fever.
Oh, yeah.
And I mention that partly because it includes an actor who is from Northern Kentucky, from our part of the world, Joey Kern.
Yeah.
And it starts out as one of those teenagers
romping around in the woods.
Romping around out in the woods, and something bad happens.
It's the water, right?
It's basically it's a little more complicated than that, but not much more. Right. But then everything goes to hell and it gets wild and crazy and everybody's it's bad. Yeah. Things go really, really bad. It is directed by Eli Roth. Yeah. Who is a guy that really has a cult following all his own. Yeah. He made a sequel to this movie, even though it didn't do particularly well at the box office when it came out. And then, so he made a sequel, and then he kind of remade the movie.
That's right.
So he's obsessed with this story, clearly.
Yeah.
But it really has become a cult favorite. People really get drawn into the whole story here.
Yeah.
Even though it's, in a lot of ways, it's very much like a lot of other movies we've seen, teenagers in trouble out in the woods. But it's memorable. It is a memorable movie.
You're going to mention Contagion.
Contagion is
not like that, is it?
Not like that at all.
No.
Contagion is a very modern movie. It's shockingly modern because it came out in 2011. Yeah. So long before the coronavirus, and yet so much of what happens will remind you of what we've seen in the past, 18 months or whatever. Directed by Steven Soderbergh, and based on real research, real predictions about how this kind of virus could become a worldwide epidemic. And it's spread silently, people don't know they have it, and people you don't expect start dying, and it creates fear and anger, and people are mad at the government, and people are mad at one another, and there's distrust in communities, and all the efforts to bring it under control are kind of hampered by these deeply emotional reactions that people have to what's a mystery.
Right.
So it's a good movie.
It is a good movie. I've seen clips of it.
It's Matt Damon is the main guy in that.
Kate Winslet. Just like
this is a movie that has been getting a lot of.
Yes.
It's been watched a lot in the last year.
I know.
So
I've
everybody's gone back going, he was absolutely right about that. But Steven Soderbergh's a very smart filmmaker.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that he made such a good film.
And the one I want to talk about is also a small little film, Pontypool.
Yeah.
Pontypool, which nobody knows. Nobody knows about it, but I'd known about it. I remember when it came out a number of years ago. Canadian film, takes place in Ontario, Canada. Stephen McHattie's in it. Pontypool is the name of the city where this grizzled old DJ goes on the air, and it's early in the morning. It's going to be another normal day, cold, snowy. As he's driving in, somebody walks up to his window and hits the window and says, "Blood, blood, blood." He doesn't know what it means. He goes to the radio station, starts talking, and the chopper guy, Ken in the chopper, our Sunshine Chopper, is just giving his broadcast, and he sees this doctor's office explode with people coming out of it, biting each other, eating each other, bloody, a mess. Anyway, he has to figure out what's going on. And what proceeds to happen is this town gets inundated with this apparent plague.
Yep.
You never see a zombie. You never see the action. And they tried to create a style of film that was like Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, where the horror is in what you hear and what you imagine.
Yeah.
And they find out what causes the plague. You saw this.
Yeah, it's a twist like I've never seen in this kind of movie.
The people start to repeat words over and over and over again that they have the plague, and they warn them, don't use terms of endearment.
Yeah.
Don't use English.
Don't speak English.
Don't speak English. That's what cues the disease up. They do a great job of making it weird, quirky, and they create all this tension, and you never see the monster.
No, yeah, and Stephen McHattie's very good.
Wonderful guy.
Everybody will recognize him. He's been in like 300 shows and movies, and he's been around for a long time.
It is the antithesis of 28 Days. It's the opposite. It's can you do this? And they do a good job.
Yeah.
But that's great.
Well, thanks very much, Greg.
Good
this
to see
was
you
a good
again.
time. Good to see you too. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again on Let's Talk About Movies.
아직까지 남의 안은 열려 있다니까. 우리 그냥 이것들 달고 부산으로 갑시다 바로.
지금 몇 톡한?
터널 끝나면 들어간다. 당신들 봐. 지금 무슨 일이 벌어지고 있는지 몰라? 우리 열차는 더 이상 부산으로 운행할 수가 없게 됐습니다.